Zeophates, oxygen not included, tutorials, tips, and tricks. And welcome everybody, and today in my little tutorial series here, we're going to deal with methods you can make oxygen with. Now, the first way that you can make oxygen is with that lovely little oxygen diffuser right there. But there's a slight problem here. It needs algae. So, how do you make oxygen without using algae? Well, you come into your oxygen tab and there's a few ways of making a bunch of stuff. I generally go with one of two methods. And it really depends on what you're doing as to what methods you want to do. So let's clear up some space and we'll get building. Yeah, I'm going a little bit overkill, but oh well. Okay, so what's the first step? Well, really, the first step is you want to have what researches do you need, really? Okay, first research you're going to need is you're going to need insulated towel. This research here is going to be critical. You have to get this one because the system is going to generate a lot of heat. And if you don't have that isolated, you're going to kill your colony due to heat. That's research one. You're also going to need your gas pumps. That's research two. And you're going to need your Atmos sensor. That's research three. From there, down here for computers, you are going to need Smart Home. This is going to give you the automation wire that we're going to need. And to actually build the automation wire, we're going to need refined metal, which means we're going to have to come up here and we're going to have to get brute force refinement. So the first thing we need to build, well, we got a brute force refinement, so we can need a rock crusher. That's going to take 240 units of power, so I'm just going to chuck down a jumbo battery. And again, I'm going to chuck down manual generator. Ooh, actually that reminds me of the research we're going to need. In power. Where are you? I went the wrong direction. In power here, we are going to need sound amplifiers, and we're going to need advanced power regulation as additional researches. So we've got a rock crusher set up. We're going to get our wire put in. That's going to enable us to make our copper ore for our refined copper. I will generally have two of these so-called shafts here. I'll usually do them on either side of the printing pod, but I'll usually extend the printing pod's base, but we're not going to worry about that right now. Okay, so what are we going to do? Well, very first thing we need is we need where our gas pump is going to go. So that, well, let's extend this a little bit. And then we are going to need just a regular room. You can size this however you want. The key feature is going to be what's over here. What do we need there? Well, we're going to need our gas pump. And we're going to want another gas pump over in this corner. Just to show you how people are supposed to get in. We're going to put in our door. I generally suggest you use either a manual airlock or a mechanized airlock. If you're using a mechanized airlock, they'll still act as manual airlock. You just don't have to power them. They're just faster if you power them. Save that for later when you actually have spare power. So, in order to make our oxygen, first of all, we're going to need a way for our dupes to get access to this entire area. So we'll just have it set like that. Okay, well, I'm going to need to build... First thing I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to be able to lock that area off. I'm going to get a mechanized airlock this time and put that in. That's also going to have an automation wire connected to it, just to a signal switch. Why am I going to do this? Because now I can control when that door is open or closed. Now I want to leave it open for the beginning. You'll find out why in a little bit. So we need to get our gas pump out. Gas pump out. Well, how are we going to make the air? That air is going to come from a electrolyzer. So we're going to get that put in place. And where is that going to get its liquid from? Well, you have this lovely little setup here that's going to be producing liquid, or producing water. And here's the thing about food pollution, which is the type of germs that are in this liquid. Food pollution germs don't affect if they're in the air. And I'm not joking. Quite literally, food pollution germs in the air are not going to affect anything. So let's get ourselves hooked up. But now we got a little bit of a problem because, well, right here, everything's trying to go. It's not working. So how do you fix that? Because right now all this liquid is trying to go up, which we don't want. Cut the pipes apart. It's going to reset. Then reconnect the pipes. And it's just going to try to go back. Okay, well, how do we fix that? Well, the way we fix that is we drop down a little bit, create a breach, and we're going to grab another liquid bridge, and this is going to force any liquid that hits there, it's going to force it all this direction. which is then going to hit the electrolyzer. So now what do we need? Well, there's two things that we're going to need. First things first is the system's going to need some way of powering it. I'm going to grab all our wires. And we're going to run it all. So everything in here is going to be on one single grid. So how am I going to power this? Well, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a smart battery. And I'm going to hook that into the grid. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this hydrogen generator, which is where which is right here for advanced power regulation. That's our hydrogen generator right there. And I'm going to grab our automation wire and I'm going to connect it. On our smart battery, which works with automation, this is the entire reason why we want the smart battery here. I'm going to set the high threshold, which means this is when the power generator is going to shut itself off. That's going to shut itself off when it's 80% full, and it's going to turn on itself. In other words, it's going to say, hey, I need power, start trying to power me, when it's at 20% or lower. So in here, we still have a little bit of setup that we need to do. That's also with our automation wire. We're going to send it off our vents. It is important that the sensor that we're going to place in is outside this chamber. So for that, we're going to come into automation. We are going to get our Atmos sensors, place them there and there. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to say you're going to be below 0. Why are we doing that? Because it's going to force these to be shut off, which is what we want at the moment. So right now, as it stands, the system is mostly built. So what do we need? Well, the only other thing we really need is we're going to get a gas reservoir. And that's going to then go into our hydrogen generator. And for our bottom tile here, we're just simply going to put a vent on the end of this pipe. So the air that's going to get produced is just going to get shoved out here. You can, of course, send this wherever you want. So right now, as it stands, the only thing this system is missing is power to kick it off. And to do that, I'm just going to chuck a manual generator there. Make sure all our power gens are connected in. And I'm going to set this generator to 10%. Why am I setting it there? Because this is set for 20%, or at least the battery is because this generator, if it ever runs out of hydrogen for whatever reason, this will automatically kick in and force the dupe to come down and repower the entire system. And you're going to need this for the first little bit. Now, I like the electrolyzer? The reason why I like the electrolyzer is because it creates oxygen and hydrogen. And that's why we want to do it this way. Hydrogen is going to float and hug this top here, which is actually what we want. So down here, I'm going to go, well, I want, if the ambient gas level is above 600 grams, I'm going to want this gas pump to turn on. I have this electrolyzer up high because that way hopefully no hydrogen will get down here. But as you can see just from its showing, it's pulling all the air over here. And gas pressure got below 600, so it shut off temporarily until the gas pressure rose again. That's the reason why you want those Atmos sensors. Now, of course, this system is going to need more water than I've actually given it. So let's get that solved. Let's just get that stuff going. Yeah, my piping in here is rather messy, but this is just demonstration. Go through and clean this stuff up as you're going along. We'll get our pump back. And here's going to be the way I'm going to do things a little bit differently. So for our bottle emptier here, I'm going to go through, because we now have polluted water somewhere. I'm going to go through and I'm going to select water. Never set these systems up if all you see here is just like water or one liquid. Never set these up at that point. If you do, it will give that check mark, and it will try to push everything through, which is not what you want. You only want water to go in this system here. I'm going to set it a high priority, and I'm not going to turn on auto bottle. What this is going to do is the dupes are now going to start coming over. They're going to start grabbing those bottles of water, assuming it's not the end of shift. Which, again, fills up. And now there's the extra water going. And of course, that ran out of power. We're actually working on solving that. But you can actually see a little bit of the catch right here, what we're doing. Because the hydrogen is currently spreading out up top here, which is what we want. And you can see the germs food poisoning are in there. You can see them spreading out from here. We don't really care, because just being exposed to oxygen is going to kill those germs, so they'll be in here, and they aren't really going to affect the dupes from this system as it is. So you already know how to clear out water if you need to. So now we've got our hydrogen gas up there. We're averaging about 900. Normally I'd suggest wait until like there's no oxygen down here, but we're going to close this door. The reason we did that is now we're going to come up here, and if you're above 600. We need anything, whatever you have this set to, this needs to be set to for pressure, because you don't want the hydrogen to allow any other gases in here. It doesn't work quite well. Now, unfortunately, the first time you run this system, you're going to get some oxygen that's going to get mixed in, which is unfortunate, because that oxygen is going to get to the generator and it's going to cause some issues. But right now, if you actually come through looking, the only thing back here now is hydrogen. So it's only that little bit that's there. And if we watch the system, eventually this is going to cause, you're going to get some wrong element damage because of the oxygen that's going in there first. But eventually the only thing that's going to be pumping through here is going to be straight up hydrogen. And that is going to be your fuel source. If you want to avoid that particular issue, simply wait until the hydrogen is sitting down here and then close the door. But I had some oxygen in there, but the system's just booting up. It's going to be a temporary issue at all. Well, so I want this system to run a little bit more frequently, so we're going to enable an auto bottling, because I want to show you guys the system in full swing. Again, we're getting the extra water. It's now separating it. You can see our battery is dropping. And of course, it's going to drop more. It's going to hit 20%, and the hydrogen generator is going to turn on. It's going to say stall at hydrogen. We're only getting hydrogen out of here. And this is now going to go fill the system. And again for this, you can continue this pipe along to whatever else you want to do. And the gas is going to first go, and it's going to first fill this tank. So once this tank's full, this tank is your backup. It's the something's going not quite working right, gives you a chance to go fix it. Because if we look down here, the only thing it's got in here is hydrogen. Again, we don't care about the germs because, well, it's going into getting burned. So we don't really care about that. This will eventually turn around and get repaired. Well, there's that dude coming in to repair it right now. And that powered hydrogen generator is going to constantly charge this up. We're constantly producing hydrogen. We're waiting until the signal. It's going to then pump it out once it's at proper max. So this system is going to be self-fueling. The only input this system is going to have in its entirety is water at this point in time. So what's a result? Well, we're dealing with the filtered polluted water. We are making ourselves oxygen. And we're getting some fuel out of it. Because if you're, as you're noticing here, we're producing more hydrogen gas than we're using. So as long as you've got a reserve that is going to capture with priority that gas, you'll have basically an infinite fuel source. It's not going to be a lot of fuel, mind you, but it is going to be infinite. So this system in its entirety, start to finish, I have this water here, unfortunately, which we are doing, which I have shut off because I wanted to get the system primed. But eventually this is only going to run when the toilet's flush. So, in fact, let's just disconnect that. So if you have 3 or 4 shifts of dupes, each with 4 dupes per shift, this bathroom is going to run 4 times per day. Each time it runs, you are going to get 6.7 per. So each time a shift hits, you're going to get, it's 15.4, so that is 30.8 kilograms of water times 4 shifts, so you're going to get 120 kilograms of water per day. Which means from this, which, let's actually just go into here because we'll read it from off from in here. The electrolyzer is going to take 1,000 grams of water, not kilograms, grams, and it's going to produce 888 grams of oxygen and 112 grams of hydrogen. So we're producing significantly more liquid than we're going to need. So have a reserve tank and have some way of using up the extra, or at least storing the extra water that you're generating. But that being said, you're going to chew through the water here faster than you're generating it. So it's this right here between the bathroom, the filter, and the oxygen production is a completely self-sealed, self-sustained operation. I will just give you one warning in advance. Under no circumstances do you want to hook this section of the power grid into anything else. You want this to remain isolated. The reason you want this to remain isolated is because you are using energy and you're only getting energy out whenever hydrogen pumps here, which should be fairly regularly. If you want to use this system for energy production, have more electrolyzers, have more gas pumps. Well, really you only need one gas pump, but you'll need more oxygen pumps because you will generate oxygen significantly faster than you'll generate hydrogen. But have them all on an isolated system, and it's any of the excess after these generators are fed and you have your reserve filled. Only then do you capture the extra hydrogen that you can then use for your own power needs elsewhere. And that is oxygen, the first stage of oxygen production. And I am going to go take a quick break. I'm going to quickly stop the stream, download the VOD, because I just realized that last section was not recorded. So, yeah.